things can get really hectic when you blend, you know, who you are on camera, because it's like the person who's getting millions of views or hundreds of thousands of views, you know, that's being presented on camera. But what about those days where I'm not getting that type of like feedback and all of those things are happening? Then you don't want to tie your worth up in between like what the numbers are, you know, who you're interviewing, who you're associated with. So that's why I try to draw a line, because that is who I am. But I'm also just, you know, a girl who is a human being just trying to do the best that I can in life.
Hi, I'm Kyla Bursey, and welcome back to Hikylabur, where we are realizing our potential while protecting our mental. Thank you for showing up today as I continue to invite you to feel real still. Feel all that you are, show up as your authentic self, and be present, because what better moment than right now? Today, I am at home back in Memphis. I am local, life happens, and I hoped to be in person for this amazing interviewee, but she was flexible, I'm flexible, and we're going to make it happen. Today, I have an interviewer, TV host, and media personality, Miss Sárah Lee. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. Sárah hosts the Set Up for Success podcast, dedicated to guiding Generation Z through purpose-driven conversations to help them, us, I'm in that generation too, I'll claim it, and create space between who we are now and who we aspire to be. So I felt that Sárah would be in perfect alignment with the vision that I have, another Gen Z voice, and sharing her story, her journey with us here today. And Sárah, where are you joining us from today?
So I am home. I'm back in the Midwest, and that is where I am shooting and working and, you know, just on my journey, like in my 20s, like navigating the space from my hometown, but always shooting for the stars and, you know, just being purposeful with where I am and just being okay with that, with being home and still chasing my dreams, but just being present in the moment that I'm in.
Beautiful, Sárah. I love that. And just your transparency through your process with your audience and towards who you are. And that's what really drew me to you. I found Sárah online on Instagram, scrolling, looking at reels, and I was really captivated by her. The one where she was just kind of cataloging her journey and all the things that she heard along the way, especially being from a small town. You've mentioned that before, and how you had to say, one, I need to get out of this environment and surround myself by others who are like-minded and not listen to those around me who just want to, now if they want to stay here, that's cool, but I have a bigger purpose, and you have really embodied that. So just thank you for doing that. Yeah.
No, that video, the one that you're talking about, you know, that video was a huge like canon event, if you will, for me. To be able to like see people really do relate and they do care and they find that relatable. So I was really honored to just be able to find like people like you who really resonate deeply with my journey and my story, you know, so super grateful for that. I can't wait to like talk more about it, because I know we share a lot of things in common with just working towards goals. So I'm honored that found you, and I'm excited to talk to you more about it.
Likewise. So let's get right into it. So I really want to start kind of taking you on and the listeners on a journey towards who you are, and just allowing you this space, because Sárah has a platform, and so I will leave the door wide open for anyone who's curious after this to go check her out. But I've observed and, you know, did a little research on you just to get a better understanding so we can go deeper. And you decided to go, you got your associates, then you went to Hampton University, HBCU. I I love my PWI, but I really so badly wanted to go to an HBCU. And so I just wanted to talk about how has Hampton specifically, that institution, transformed your journey and gotten you on the trajectory, because that has opened so many doors for you. So why Hampton, and how's that really helped you get, like you mentioned in your recent video, get into this new environment, kind of like the bigger fish tank, as you said, to expose you to more?
Yeah, I think, Hampton was always a dream school for me. It was one of those schools that I thought about, and I had to, and I think it's important to know, I had to do what I had to do to get there. And I think that, everyone thinks that there's a traditional path that you have to go on. But even though that was my goal, I knew at 17, I wasn't ready for that. It wasn't something that was on my mind. I think I was still trying to find out who I was and figure out, yes, I love media, but, what is it do I actually want to, what did I actually want to do and how did I want to do it? But also saving money was a big thing for me. So I think once I turned, I believe I was 19 or 20, once I got there, I really felt no, now is the time that I'm supposed to be here to really take in everything. And I was really, having a competitive mindset once I got there, because I felt I only have 2 more years of school yet left. But these 2 years are the years where I'm actually going to get a taste of what real journalism is like, and studying the craft and honing my skills in a place where I'm fully accepted, fully celebrated, looked at as one of, top tier talented students, where I'm not being pushed to the back and just being wait your turn, or, just being overlooked because of so many things, So I feel I made my experience. And if you go to Hampton and if you talk to a lot of alumni, they'll tell you that Hampton is what you make it. And I feel I really squeezed every possible opportunity that I could from being there. And it just shaped me into a real, it shaped me into a really great person. And it helped me understand, what I want out of life, what I'm going to say yes to, what I'm going to say no to. It helped me just really believe in myself, because I'm surrounded by all these, amazing, talented people. But at the same time, I'm on their level, you know what I mean? Or if not, how I felt at the time was if I can do the work at least semi better, or just if I can compete at this level, then I know that I am great at this career and that I can handle whatever comes my way, because there's so many amazing, talented people that come to HBCUs. So
that's the thing about virtual. You cut out a little bit, and I'd like to backtrack. The last part that I caught was that if you can just compete a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So my thought process was, if I can compete with everyone and if I can stay on that level with them, then I know I can be able to handle anything within the outside world and just attract opportunities within my college experience. So, I mean, all the things that you see from my journey with Hampton was, there were great professors I've met along the way, but a lot of it was my own creativity and thoughts and grit and hunger to just put myself out there. So it was a great experience. If I could do it again, I would still pick Hampton. I would still do the same things I was doing. It was amazing. And I met great people too. And I just had a fun time. Yeah.
Yes. And then that's what I observed as you, like you said, any experience, any opportunity is what you make of it. And you went there with, in your mind, this is going to help propel me. And so from you hosting your first concert, and you're I may get a no, or how you got your interview with Michael B. Jordan or Michael Rainey Jr. You said, I don't care. They're in my vicinity. I'm going to talk to them, because as you said, celebrities, as we coin them, because that's what they are, but they are just people. And so the people that you chose to surround yourself with and your mindset, I want to take us there next. And how did you develop this mindset, this confidence that you just had since, I think on one of your posts, you're like, since I was 6, I've been wanting to do this, and I've just really had my mindset on this, and I resonate with this, what you said. I think it was in an interview with Poppy Talk on the becoming an aspiring media mogul. You're like, God has placed this on my heart, and it's so much greater than me to say it's just, I'm going to Hampton for me, but you use this opportunity to say, yes, I'm going to be here, but I'm also going to allow this environment to help me serve others. So how did you develop this mindset in the way that you think?
Yeah, that's a good question, because confidence, confidence is hard to teach. It's one of those things where some people have to really convince themselves, and they have to work at it every single day. And I think when I was younger, like, I attribute to all the bullying, all the no's, all the things that I went through made me a really strong person. And I think all of that experience just made me say, I am going to believe in myself and believe in my work and what I want to contribute, because everything is really all in your head. And I just did not want to believe this narrative that I was going to be local, or I'm going to be small, or, I don't have significance, or I'm not meant to be in these rooms or these spaces. I really reprogrammed my mind to just constantly feed myself positivity. And even when I felt scared, I just still push through. There's like a switch, I feel like, that kicks on for me in my brain, that when I see opportunity, when I see things that I really want, that I know could be a catalyst for something else, I just know how to just swallow my fear, put it somewhere else, and I just know how to just turn it on. And I think that does come from, like, when you've been doubted a lot and told no and just overlooked, and people don't really give you the time, you just, I don't know, in the shadows, you just really work on yourself. You kind of, consume all those things in. And some people use that for, an excuse for weakness, or, it tears them down. But some people channel all of that, anger, and they put it elsewhere. And I feel like that's kind of what I had to do, was I had to really, train myself to believe that I am worthy. And I think that, dives deeper into self-love and those things that, people feel like is not as important, but it truly is. I feel like if I didn't, cultivate that type of love for myself and take time to really figure out, well, why am I doing this? Yeah. That was the thing for me that helped me just understand that it's more than just saying, oh, today I can do it. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. It's something that I have to continually, work at until it becomes second nature. And I feel like now I'm there. I'm at that point now where I just, I believe it. It's not something I have to convince myself that I'm worthy. But it took time. I feel like it took, just being around great people, great energy, and having people, because if you don't have that, it's harder. But I feel like I made it work for me. But yeah, confidence is one of those things. I feel like, I say the bullying, the doubt, those things help me just get stronger and just be like, you know what, these things don't define me. I'm going to define what I believe, confidence is for me, and it's worked out. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I love the journey you just took me on, from believing in yourself to having to reprogram yourself, because you could have easily taken those thoughts and doubts that others tried to project on you and said, well, maybe I'm not worthy, but you're like, no, I am worthy. Yeah. And it's time for me to go inside, because I think that's where it starts. Like you said, believing, I love this statement, believing is seeing. Like you have to believe it. And I love how you said you like that better, believing in yourself or believing until you're becoming, because rather than faking it till you make it, because if you're faking it and, you talk about the different parts of your brain subconsciously, you don't actually believe that. You're like, well, I'm just pretending. Yeah. But you're saying, no, I already am who I desire to be. Therefore, it's going to happen. And I'm going to allow myself to be on my side, because the whole world can be against you. But my thing is, why would I be against myself too? Because if I'm having these other thoughts, these positive thoughts that are planted in my mind and just have been that itch since I was younger to say, well, actually, it's time for me to do this. And I admire that. Truly.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it takes, it takes a lot of effort to believe in something and not fall into the trap of like faking it till you make it. I never really liked that because it's so fleeting, because you can only fake for so long until you really like just be like, even if you get everything by faking it, you still feel like you're not worthy. Something still is going to feel missing. So I just, I've always been extremely self-aware, and I try to think about longevity and future and just overall myself and the things that I want to pass down to, my kids, like when I get older, or, just things that if I'm reaching masses amount of people, what do I want them to see when they think of me? I want to just be real. And I think that's always my goal is, if I'm going to be confident, let me be real about it. Even when I'm not feeling confident, let me be real about it, because that's what people want. They want someone who they can relate to. And, I think that's the gap that's missing nowadays, is everyone wants to be perfect all the time and nobody wants to be real. So that's why I always just say, just be real. If you're feeling it, then say it. If you're not, then say that, and then just keep pushing through, and you'll get, you'll find the people who will support you and help you get to where you want to be.
Yes, that's truly beautiful. And I love the transparency and authenticity. That's why it's like in the opening, it is to be real, because I don't have it all figured out. My recent bonus episode I released, I'm still learning all of this equipment. And unlike you, I didn't study journalism in school or broadcasting and having these little stepping stones along the way to teach me things. But I'm a firm believer of, I already have everything I need to get what I want, because often we have limitations that we place on ourselves and say, well, if only I get this. You could have said, if only I had talked to this many people before I talked to Pharrell, then I can talk to him. But you're like, no, I'm already qualified. So when you do that, you may not get it right all the time. And so that's where that vulnerability comes in, to say that I'm still learning. And I love how you, one of your reels, you said, I feel like Hannah Montana sometimes that I'm doing all this. I come back and have to turn it on and off in my personal life. And so that's where I want to go next, is when we first met, you were like, yes, Lee is not even, you've mentioned it on your platform. I made that up because this is like, I want to project my most confident version of myself, but also I am me at the same time, who I am at my core. So in creating this, and I love how you've drawn from inspirations like Marilyn Monroe, and so other people who have created personas for themselves to kind of protect themselves. But for you, as you are working on this authentic image and also building a brand, how are you protecting and balancing? Where do you draw the line with what you do expose of yourself, and say that when I am in these spaces, like which version of yourself do you pick and choose to show, or is it fully you at all times, but rather you just decide to hold back on some parts of yourself?
Yeah, it does. It's very weird. Even sometimes it's like it's kind of a question I can't even fully answer all the way, because it's not that I don't know, but it's just a switch. It's just a thing that I just have to have some sort of boundary on for myself. Because for me, I think, being in the public eye, or like being in front of people and presenting yourself a certain way, you attract a lot of attention, you attract a lot of, people. Sometimes, those people are very nice, and sometimes people are very weird and crazy. So it's also just about like having some sort of distance between who I am at my core and the person that I am on camera. It's still me, but it's like I said, it's like a thing for me to be able to just understand, no, this is who you are. This is the performer in a way, you know what I mean? Because when you're speaking on camera, that's where I feel like all of my charisma comes out, all of the things that I just really truly believe in my essence is me. But I think I just also have an emotional side where I'm just very sensitive, and I just, you know, I just consume a lot very easily. And I think that's just like a part of myself that I have to nurture and take care of. You could call it like, you know, the younger me or just me. But I think it's just about balancing that, because things can get really hectic when you blend, you know, who you are on camera. Because it's like the person who's getting millions of views or hundreds of thousands of views, you know, that's being presented on camera. But what about those days where I'm not getting that type of like feedback and all of those things are happening? Then you don't want to tie your worth up in between like what the numbers are, you know, who you're interviewing, who you're associated with. So that's why I try to draw a line, because that is who I am. But I'm also just, you know, a girl who is a human being just trying to do the best that I can in life. So I try not to go too far off, like that I can't be relatable even to myself, like with the work ethic, with, you know, because it takes a lot to be able to really perform at a high level, get the type of, you know, interviews and be in the type of spaces that I am in. So it's just about understanding, like, you know, you're just a person. Sárah Lee she is you, but she's also like an extension of a brand. And sometimes I feel like people can get confused between the work. They don't know how to even relate to their families anymore, their friends, because everything is about work. Everything is about, you know, being the best and being better than everyone. So that's why I feel like there has to be some sort of line for me to just be able to give myself a break, give myself time to reflect and just stay true to myself, because it truly does take a lot to build, you know, a persona and be around a lot of famous people, or, you know, trying to build a brand that reaches masses of people, because you get so many, you know, hate comments. Thankfully, I haven't had much, but it does happen. So I just try to make sure that it's separate so I don't internalize every single thing that's going on. Like, there's work and there's personal. So that's how I try to keep it.
Yes, that's very insightful, and it's great that you're developing this now, because I'm figuring it out along the way. And I think others, to hear that, how you have to, I think it's a must, because when you do fully encapsulate your performance and your life together, there is no turn off time. You just work all day, or you could be, I think of myself, I went to my aunt's funeral and I'm like, okay, well, but I have a video to edit. Do I do both? Or like, but no, it's like, this is like how I want to sustain myself eventually. But I have to know when to turn it off. I have to be able to grieve, feel the things that come with being human. And that's what you're saying, to not internalize it, especially because as much as we want everyone to like everything we do, because it comes from a good place, they won't. Everyone won't understand it, and everyone has an opinion. So you really have to protect yourself. And so resonating there, but also getting deeper into what things do you do to pour in yourself off camera, and what boundaries do you set with your workflow, because you have your podcast, you have your content creation, if I'm not mistaken, you have a job. So it's like, how are you balancing all of these things and also making time for who you are?
Yeah, I think the best way for me, honestly, is to, you know, really take time to reflect. I like to journal. I like to just brain dump my ideas on like what's going on. this may not be for everybody, but I do love astrology, like, very much. Like, I think it's something that I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's something now that has just been a tool that's been very helpful for me, surprisingly. And I don't think most people know that about me, but I really do love seeking out wisdom and guidance to kind of help me break down, like, what is going on. And for me, sometimes, like, that helps, like, a lot. So I really do like to lean on a lot of, like, my guides, my family, and prayer and journaling. It really helps me just flush out, okay, am I crazy, or, like, what is happening? Like, you know, and for me, that's been my thing, like, as of late. And I notice a difference in the way that I'm able to separate things, and I'm able to let myself know, like, oh, okay, this is normal. This is, like, the energy that's going on right now. You're not crazy. Like, there's, you know, things, I think, and it might seem, and my astrologer told me this, but some things are a little bit woo-woo. Like, it's kind of like, okay. Yeah. But sometimes there is, like, help in that. And I feel like, you know, for me, it gives me some sort of, like, understanding of, now is the time to attack. Now is the time to rest. Now is the time to, you know, really put a lot of energy into something. And now is the time to really scale back and rest and focus on my health, focus on, you know, the things that I've been neglecting. So that is kind of my thing right now, is just having balance, seeking out guidance. I do like to read books, so I like to try to just create, like, a little escape for myself when things are a bit hectic for me. And when I don't know what's going on, I seek out wisdom. I seek out guidance, because for me, I don't know. And it could just be, like, how my makeup is. I don't think I would be able to function if I didn't have some sort of, like, spiritual guidance to lean on to kind of help me navigate this crazy world. Like, I feel like it's just too much sometimes. So sometimes I take my time to disconnect and just build discipline and build healthier habits, because if I don't have some sort of structure, I'm gonna fall off. I'm gonna be overly stressed and, you know, consuming, like, the times are crazy. And I think for me, it's a lot to be able to consume it, because I was telling you earlier, like, I'm very sensitive to a lot of information, like, so I have to create that, and I have to just kind of figure out what's going on and be able to flow with, you know, the world, and not try to, like, push against it and be like, no, I want to do this now. Because every single time I do those things, stuff doesn't work out. Problems happen. I'm forcing stuff that shouldn't be forced at the time. But then when I take a step back and I lean on, you know, like I said, the guides that I have, like, astrology helps. I look for signs within anything for me. And those are things that work personally for me. Sometimes, you know, certain people, it doesn't work for them. But for me, personally, it helps. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I do. And I really like that now, because it's something I actually connect with. I feel like a lot of people probably don't have things that they genuinely connect with, because we've all been programmed from our younger days to do things a certain way, or what we grew up on. And those things may, you know, still carry on and work. But I'm just the type of person that always seeks out truth. I'm like, what is the truth? I am just a truth-seeking girl. Like, I just am so drawn to those things, because it just helps me navigate my own life much easier, so that I'm not trying to fight myself, because it's not anyone else. It's literally me. So that helps me a lot.
Girl, you are me and I am you, because you are
the same girl.
Yes. Because the things I picked up there, I'm a journaler as well. But introspection, spirituality, not forcing things, astrology, and how you really, and self-discipline, that's a big one that I think is the key to not burning yourself out, and actually allowing, like, not believing in the coincidences of life, but things coming up when it's supposed to, And what I really want to jump to or kind of transition to, which is just kind of a follow-up to everything that you said, and how do you actively accept two things. One, that we are spiritual beings living a human existence. And so that's why having those guides and looking at the things around you, even studying astrology, can be helpful, as well as how have you accepted that notion that you mentioned that you can't, to a certain extent, you can show up and do all the work that you want to, but you're not going to get what's for you until it's time. And so accepting that fact of, I mentioned in a previous episode that we think we're doing everything, but in some way we're being done, like the things that are being placed on our hearts and on our minds, the people that come into our spaces. So how have you come to accept those things? And when you do feel overly anxious or maybe like, I just need to do a little bit more, how do you ground yourself personally? Like what things do you say or maybe have put in place to help you get that discipline in place?
Yeah, I think for me, like when I am like, well, first recognizing what it is like that's going on with forcing things. I think I just know when I'm forcing stuff. It is like, because I'm just one of those people, I think emotionally too, it's like I'm either really excited or really happy or like I'm like really sad about something. Like, so I try to like, I mean, and naturally I am a happy person. So I'm always pretty like, you know, just excited about life. I'm just happy to be alive and just doing my thing. And so I'm overall like putting out a lot of gratitude and happiness. So sometimes I feel like when I do want something really bad, or I am, you know, looking to make another transition or like take another stepping stone, sometimes my stepping stones are like ridiculous stepping stones. They're like, I'm ready to, you know, do this and work on this show. And it's like a lot. Like, and mind you, I'm only 22. So you already know, I think I'm supposed to be Oprah Winfrey. I think I'm supposed to be like up here. So I think it's understanding where I am in my life and really accepting that, yes, you have all these big dreams. Yes, you have all these big aspirations, and as I should. But if it all doesn't happen right in 2024, I am not a failure. So I think it's like that inner dialogue with myself to let myself know that it's okay, because I love, and you and I have this in common. We are overachievers. We love to exceed, and, you know, and I really do think it's, you know, like my maturity. I see things, I know things, like just, I feel like more than a lot of my peers or just people my age in general. So I'm always thinking about like self-improvement, going harder, reaching the stars. And sometimes I have to learn how to ground myself a little bit. And I think because just in my nature, I just am big on like being realistic and like still dreaming, but I do kind of like pull myself back a little bit when I'm like, okay, you're a bit out there. So I like to speak to myself in that way to, you know, if I do have a goal, well, what's something a bit more tangible that it is in our control right now? So I don't necessarily feel like I'm holding myself back or I'm not doing enough. It's like, this is enough. So that's what I do. I talk to myself in that sense, but when I do feel overly anxious and when I feel like nothing is getting done, which it is, it always is. It's just, everything for me personally is usually in my mind, and I'm the one saying, you're not doing enough, you should be doing more. And it's just like, girl, relax. Like, and you know, a thing that really does help is when I have things in the future to look forward to. That brings me a lot of like peace, because I'm like, well, if this is the season of rest and if this is the season of planning, it might seem mundane and boring, but I'm like, well, this is just what it is right now. But then guess what? In the fall, you have all these big things that are coming. So accepting where I am and nurturing myself when I do get time to take a break is how I navigate the anxiousness. And I'm learning to be more grateful about where I am, because if I don't, you don't get the time back that you have right now. So that really does help with my anxiety a lot about just the future. And am I where I'm supposed to be? Should I be doing more? Like those little conversations that I have, I just remind myself, look at all the things that you've done. And I try to reflect, because usually when I do things, I just move on. So I do try to take time, especially now, because I did do a lot, within the past years of just constantly every single month, every single week, I had something to do. Now that I can, give myself a bit more time to kind of reflect and see, it's like, that's okay too. So I think people who are always constantly working and doing a lot, they have to learn how, to just make adjustments and just actually find out, what season are you in right now? What season is this? I like to look at my life in seasons, because it helps me figure out I'm not behind, or it's not that I'm not doing enough. It's that, no, you need to nurture yourself, or you really do need to take time to figure out, why do you want to interview this person right at this time? Is it necessary? Is it something for your ego? Like, I really am just, a deep thinker on all the things that I do, because I just don't like doing things for the sake of doing it to please my ego, just to feel like I'm doing something, but it's not really anything.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, like that's how I look at it.
Yes, because you really have to come down from your ego to what you see ahead and remind yourself. And I love how you think in seasons, and these conversations help me more than anyone else, because I'm like, I think everyone is fitting to what I'm experiencing right now. Like, I'm 21, just graduated. This is you a year ago. So like, you had to, and now you're a year ahead, and you're like, okay, well, I was booked and busy, but what was I really doing? Like, I could have slowed down.
Girl, that after college was scary. That was scary. Because like, I don't know. And the thing is, like, I really do hate when people say, like, oh, you're young. Like, I get we have time. I get we have those things or whatever. But I'm saying, in that moment, I really felt like I was literally an imposter. I was like, why are things not taking off? What is going on? Where's my show? Like, I was so confused because I did a lot. And I think, it's important where you are to like really be happy. And I think I was like really freaking out. Like, I noticed, like, especially when I look back, because you can really tell how you were feeling within like pictures and videos and like things you were doing. Like, I looked sad. Like, I really looked like I was just going through something. And for me, I think after school, like, this might seem silly, but like when I got my dog, like, that helped me a lot, because I was just like, I need to take my mind off something. And then guess what? Things work out. Things always work out. Like, they always work out. If you are doing exactly what you feel like you need to be doing, after college, you're gonna get your position, you're gonna make your money, you're gonna meet the right people. But it just, like, you have to go through that weird, I'm confused. I went through it last year, and I was just like, I cannot wait to get out. And now I'm living the prayer that I prayed. So that's why it's like, I'm saying it's important to not feel like I'm not doing enough. It's not working out, because now I'm exactly where I want to be. So I shouldn't be complaining about, well, what about this and what about that? Because I really, especially I had a situation the other day where it really showed me that if one door does not open, I swear to God, another one will. And it will be so much bigger. It'll be so much better. And it will just be exactly what your dream is. But it's just about like letting go. Like, I'm so big on that, because every time I'm forcing stuff or like clenching onto an idea, and sometimes that idea can come from an old version of yourself that thinks this is exactly what you need, but it's really not, and I don't know. I just really believe God just opens up something like and gives you like a space or a time to like really reflect. And that is really helpful to me a lot. So you're exactly where you should be. Trust me. Like it feels weird, but you're doing fine.
I will receive that. And I have so many affirmations that we can take from this conversation that I'm exactly where I need to be. And one from earlier is that if along the lines of that, if I'm not where I like project myself to be by the end of 2024, that doesn't mean I'm a failure. I am still growing, and I love how you're operating from a space of gratitude, because I went and looked back at like how your recent interview with Monique Rodriguez did, and you're like 95 views, great, in 24 hours. Then it just like went so much further than you may have thought. And that's like, that's how it can work sometimes when you let go and you think about the metrics as a practical standpoint. Like I could easily, no one could hear me, but you never know who's watching. You never know who can see you, that one person, that those connections that one, you're not afraid to make, but also those who will come to you and be like, I see what you're doing, keep going. And I love that. And I'm thinking of, for the next part of this, what Jay Ellis said to you, and how it doesn't happen. It takes years. It doesn't happen overnight. And so accepting that, as you said, you're trying to build a legacy. This is not just a viral moment. This is my life. So what are your thoughts on, this is like kind of a topic of conversation happening on like the social commentary discourse on YouTube about fast fame, those people who are getting these viral moments and like want to, they don't really know what to do with it or how to sustain it all the time. So how are you accepting when you do, like you said earlier, when you do take off, like that 100,000 or whatever happens, but then you come back down and say, I still have work to do. So what are your thoughts on that? And how are you actively building this legacy and saying, this is the foundation? You kind of touched on it with how you're saying whatever the seasons that you're in right now are helping you prepare for that next moment, but overall, what are your thoughts?
I think that, you know, it's just like everyone has their time, and even if it seems silly, it always crumbles. And I'm all for people who do things intentionally with purpose, but I think what I don't like is like how the society is when it comes to just giving these people the platform, the opportunity to do what. But also at the same time, you know, just understanding that, you know, people will have their moments. People have, you know, opportunity to say, do anything to get people's attention. But in the long run, what is that going to do? So I never really worry about it anymore, because every single thing that I've noticed that I'm like, is this what people care about? Is this something is this the direction where our society is going? Is this what people care about? It's not true. It's just like, that's a very specific audience for that. And, you know, everyone likes different content. Everybody gets, you know, their 15 minutes of fame depending on what they do. But it can be detrimental to a lot of people's career and their lives over time. So it's really about focusing on, because there are a lot of great people out there that want positive content, that want to, you know, let the people who are really doing things that are impactful and positive finally get that spotlight. It may take time for those people to get there, because that's just how the world is. But I feel like the authenticity and the realness is what will get you there. But it's also about the consistency and the messaging, because also there's a lot of people who claim that they are for the people and they speak positivity, but they're very fake, and they, you know, only want things for their own personal ego, or just to make people feel like they can, but you got to pay $59.99 to get the information. So things like that, you know, it's just like those things I pay attention to. And I never want to be one of those people. So that's why I'm always observing. I'm really a student of life, and I just observe everything, whether it be extremely obnoxious to me or whether it's a little bit, if it seems like it's just trying to be something that it's not. If it's trying to be, this is positivity, but then there's like an underlying thing that feels very fleeting and fake to me. So my opinion is like, things come and go. That's life. So the best thing to do is worry about yourself and worry about what you're contributing, because the world is so big. There's so many people that could be your audience. There are so many people that can find, you. But what I think is that, yes, it takes time, but you have to work on your craft and your delivery. And I feel like that's where I am. It's like, okay, even adjusting to the culture, adjusting to how do people receive and take information, because all you're looking for is an audience and a community. However you present the information to them, as long as you're being authentic to yourself, they will understand what you're doing or the message that you're saying. Even if it is silly, or even if it is really serious, there's ways to reach people and connect with them in this time that we're in that can propel you to a different level. But it's just about really studying and understanding, how do I reach these people and what is it specifically that I want to touch on to magnify and reach that level, because you can only get so far doing the same things that everyone else does. Yeah. Everybody does have a gift and a talent and a skill. But to me, the greats, they have something else. They have like something really specific about them, very different, that nobody else can do. And it's very unique. And even if it took them a long time, which to me, honestly, 27, 28, making it, I feel like that is a great time to arrive, because it's like you've done a lot of work. You've, really studied, and that track is better to me. That track of really taking the scenic route and not trying to just get there so fast. And then when you're there, it's overwhelming because you didn't take time to really understand what your audience really cares about you for and what it is you want to contribute. Because it's very intimidating when you are on a larger scale. People are like, who's she? I don't know her. So I feel like it's very important to build something that won't shake. Even if some people don't understand what you're doing, it's probably not for them. But then, once you get at a larger level, they'll be like, oh, I get it. Yeah. I didn't get it at first, but now I understand what you're doing. So it's just that you have to believe in your vision, and the universe opens up doors for people. And I think, some people have a little like luck within them, like not necessarily that they're lucky, but they understand that it's created. It's not something that's just given. It really takes years of work and trial and error to figure it out. But then once you got it, and just sticking with it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. And just how you, as you were speaking, thinking about the greats that came to mind that actually paved different paths. They were doing, like you think of Michael Jackson. He was so creative, so within his own world, but it's still distinct to him. Oprah Winfrey, when she had to start somewhere. She's from Nashville, went to my high school, and she had to start local. And then she went on, she took her shot, got a TV show. Then she started differentiating by just talking to people, regular people, not trying to get all of the celebrities, but being that common voice that people can turn on and like, I can listen to her all day. And so,
it's important. It's important. And it's usually like, I think that the greats are usually, I always gravitate towards the underdog. And I think I just connect with that more, like I said, just because of like my childhood and certain things that I've experienced. I love the one that's counted out, but they're still so great that you cannot deny them. Even if maybe everybody in the world is not obsessed with them or love them, it's like you can respect them and you can respect their work and the, you know, the things that they've done throughout their life to get where they are. And everyone needs help. Everyone gets assistance to really take things to the next level, obviously. But you got to have pure talent to really arrive to those spaces, to really communicate, because that's what we're all here to do, is inspire and serve people. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, when you lead with that, that's long lasting. That to me is a legacy. That is someone who, you know, carved out a lane of something that can be passed down from generation to generation. Even if I was the first person to do that thing, it's like the door has been opened, you know, and even if I don't get all the benefits from what I've done, I know I did something incredible, you know, so that's important to me as far as legacy.
That's beautiful. And leading with serving, educating, and thinking about that aspect of life, of how we are put here to help each other. So on your journey, when it comes to getting that big break or that moment after you've put some time in, it'll be somebody that'll open that door for you. And you're just like, well, somebody is out there. It just takes one person. And I admire that. And when you also think about success and legacy building in terms of, let's say it takes you 20 to 60 more years to really get that big stage talk show, or sooner, whatever, because you've put so much time in already. And it's like, well, now that I have this space in the media industry and life to be seen, look at what I have in front of me, the rest of my life, for people to know who I am. It's not 15 minutes, it's not 2 years. And that's what it's really become. In our first conversation, we were talking about how virality is not like new anymore. It's like anybody can go viral. Forget about it next week. But when you're building a legacy, that's where you truly stick around. And as we close, I want to really dig into your purpose and what you have. You just poured into me this afternoon. So thank you. And thank you for pouring into this platform that I'm building. And I will reciprocate in any ways that I can. Back to you.
Thank you.
But lastly, your purpose and defining that, and how are you living out your purpose through Sárah Lee and your brand?
I truly believe it's, for me, living out my purpose is just connecting with people my age and letting them know that, you know, we're on this journey together of really finding who we are as young people, because, you know, we are the new young adults. Like, we are the new people who are about to really take over society, you know, over the next 10, 20 years and things like that. So I love bringing comfort to people who are trying to figure things out. And I really want to be a source of inspiration for them, that even with, you know, having big accomplishments and doing the things that you want to do, that wherever you come from, that you are worthy to be there. And I think my purpose also represents, like, you know, connection to culture and, you know, like, especially with my family and my history and my roots, like, I love incorporating those things into, you know, my social media and holding on to tradition and just showing, like, you know, that you don't have to be like everybody else in this world. I feel like uniqueness is everybody's superpower, and just being okay with where you are in life and having big goals and dreams and knowing that you're worthy. And I hope that my journey is just a real testimony for a lot of young Black girls, really specifically. Like, I want my source to be for everybody, but I really specifically would love for younger Black women to see me and see my journey, see my story, and see where I land, you know, and understand that it's possible for them to, if it's media, if that's what they want to do with their life, or, you know, anything that they want to do, really, that it's possible, that anything that they work towards, they can have.
Sárah, that is truly beautiful. And I just know, feel, and see the best is yet to come for you.
Thank you.
So it is. And I love everything that you're doing. And I want to leave the door open to the audience. And where can they find you next?
Okay. So Instagram and YouTube are my platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Sárah Lee on air. And then YouTube is the same, Sárah Lee on air on YouTube. And then I also have my podcast for Gen Z. So we're going to pick up in the fall. So be expecting some really killer episodes. So anything that you need as far as just navigating your 20s, some inspiration. We have fun on my page as well. It's not all serious and everything like that. So yeah, those are my two main platforms, and the podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast.
Awesome. Y'all heard it. Now in the fall, you're going to have a beautiful season or beautiful more episodes to tune into on the Setup for Success podcast. Meanwhile, after you listen to this one, you can go check out her channel and the episodes that she's already done. And just, I love how your audience, your vision, and all you need is let the universe do the rest.
Yeah.
So thank you. It's been an honor talking with you today, Sárah. And for the Hikylabur Podcast listeners, thank you all for your time. Thank you for allowing us to pour into you this moment. We hope you're having a great one, and I will see you next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.